11 minutes after the hour, News Talk 100, WAPI, where Alabama talks. Moving on, we'll take your calls later on. We've got big NASCAR driver coming in at 9:35 this morning, but nobody bigger than Congressman Robert Aderholt of the 4th District on the Murphy Show hotline, and hopefully I will give Congressman Aderholt ample time to answer all questions asked on the show. I've got to learn to be better about that. Congressman Aderholt, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Matt. I'm doing well.
We've had a busy day so far. We've had a gubernatorial candidate, a state representative, the head of the task force on illegal gambling in Alabama, John Tyson, and now our biggest guest, we saved the best for last, Congressman Robert Aderholt. It's good to hear your voice. I hope you and your family are well.
Well, we're doing well. Back, of course, in Washington, we're voting this week. So, but it's good to be on with you and to speak to some of your listeners. I know you recently were. Y'all moved to a larger listening audience, so congratulations on that.
Well, thank you, and I think we're sinking our teeth a little further into the 4th District. So hopefully, everyone within your district with the opportunity can listen to our regular conversations about the goings-on of Washington D.C. It's always a refreshing conversation to hear some straight talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill, and with that in mind, let's delve right into it. I know that the major activity on health care has come from the opposing body, the Senate, but most of us here in Alabama, at least I feel this way, and I think our listening audience agrees, that if we are to stop this madness, and that's what I consider it to be, that's going to happen in the House of Representatives. Congressman, would you agree with that assessment, and tell us what you know about health care legislation?
Well, exactly, and of course, the president's speaking today. I think under 145 this afternoon, and he's going to sort of be detailing his plan, what he wants to see and what to be included in it. The way it shapes up right now is from my perspective, and I think from most perspective on the Republicans on the House side, is that the Senate, if they use the reconciliation measure, which of course is where they only need 51 votes to pass the bill. Then it's really left up to the House of whether it will pass. As you remember, it was a very close vote in the House of Representatives back a few months ago when we passed it initially, and then of course they'll need every one of those votes to get it through again. And there's been several Democrats. I think there's at least a half a dozen Democrats that voted for it last time that are now having serious reservations about it. So the question is whether they can get the votes in the House. And, usually the House is somewhere where they can, the Speaker is very forceful in getting the votes. But right now everyone is very concerned about the mood of the people. As you can see what happened in Massachusetts just a few weeks ago, what happened, of course, in the election in Virginia, what happened in the election in New Jersey. So there's a lot of members of Congress that maybe had been willing to walk the plank for the Speaker and for the Democrats, but maybe now are having reservations about it. So that's where it's really looking at, what we're looking at right from today.
I've encouraged the listeners of this program and folks all across the state of Alabama, those in the 7th Congressional District, Archer Davis's district, and those in the 2nd, Bobby Bright's district. I think it's pretty safe to say that the Republicans, even the newest Republican in the 5th District, Parker Griffith, will vote against this should a vote come up. Is it important for the citizens of Alabama, those 7th Congressional District citizens, those 2nd Congressional District citizens, to contact the Democrats on that side? Because I imagine the leadership, Nancy Pelosi, will have a lot of arms being twisted in an attempt to get the votes on this thing.
It will be, and again, I think you're exactly right. I would be very surprised if Archer Davis and Bobby Bright, either one, votes for the legislation. But at the same time, they are getting a lot of pressure, I imagine, from many people, including, of course, the Democrat establishment leadership in Washington through Nancy Pelosi. So I would say that if they could put a quick phone call, a quick email to Bobby Bright and to Archer Davis, I think it would be advisable to do that. Now, Parker Griffith, on the other hand, I think we're safe there. Since the last vote, Parker switched parties. He voted against it last time, but he's now, I think he really didn't want to vote for it last time, and he didn't vote it for it last time. And so now, as a Republican, I don't think certainly he'll vote for it. So I think really the Bright seat and down in the 2nd District, and then, of course, the seat that Arturo Davis currently holds in the 7th is the two most important things.
It's kind of like a soap opera. It's as Capitol Hill turns, and I say that because the spotlight was on the Senate for so long, and should Obama go with the nuclear option, the reconciliation option, which in my opinion, Congressman, would fundamentally change, and I know what's happened in the past, I understand that, but nothing on this level fundamentally change the filibuster possibilities in the United States Senate forevermore, which I think is a travesty. But what that essentially does is turn the hot spotlight right there back on the House of Representatives, and as obviously you well know, every single member of the House of Representatives running for re-election this year, I'll ask you point blank, do you believe, should this bill get to the House, will it pass?
You know, I probably, if it was brought up today, I would say not. But I'm sure the Speaker is working overtime and trying to get these votes. She's probably within a half dozen votes of getting it and getting the votes she needs. And, as you may have seen some of the press reports over the weekend, she said that members should, even if their constituents vote them out of office, then they should still vote for the legislation. And, of course, that's probably easier for her to say than for the member of Congress who is representing that area. So it's, the bottom line is the Americans prefer a real incremental, step-by-step approach to this health care issue. And this is, of course, the President's approach is far from that. And so, therefore, I think that right now the House does not have the votes. Whether that the Speaker can twist the arms and convince them to, then, I think it's still a possibility. I would say that anybody right now, there's no way that you could for sure say whether the votes are in the House or Senate. I think, in the House, because it is so close. Congressman,
are you pressed for time? Can I take a short time out here?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll take a short time out because I'd like to ask you about some developments today on the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Our guest is Congressman Robert Aderholt. I know we've been very busy with guests today, and I appreciate your patience, but very good information from the Congressman of the 4th District. We'll be back in just a moment on The Murphy Show. Congressman Robert Aderholt, our guest on The Murphy Show Hotline. Good morning, 21 after the hour. Right after the bottom of the hour, we've got a very special guest from the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And I hesitate to say Justin's last name because I do not want to mispronounce it. I think it's Allgaier. Allgaier? See, I shouldn't have said it. I should have just waited until he got here. Regardless, we know I had the same trouble with Congressman Robert Aderholt years ago, trying to mispronounce his name as well. He's on the Murphy Hotline. We're talking of, obviously, the issue of health care, but there are some other things going on in Capitol Hill. Late-breaking news that Charlie Rangel is now saying, holding a hastily called press conference, that he will step down as chair of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, saying he did not want his ethics controversy to jeopardize election prospects for fellow Democrats. Frankly, I think it might be time for Charlie Rangel to step down altogether. Let's get the congressman's take on it. Congressman Aderholt, obviously this news is making the rounds on Capitol Hill. I'm curious your thoughts on it.
Well, I think it was the only thing that Charlie Rangel could do. I think the handwriting was on the wall. What would have happened, this would have been brought up to a vote on the House of Representatives, and the GOP would have only needed to get 39 Democrats to turn against Rangel to actually win the vote. You've already had Bobby Bright that's already asked him to publicly that he should step down. You have Gene Taylor from Mississippi. You had a Congresswoman from Sutton from Ohio. You had Harry Mitchell from Arizona. You had Gabriel Giffords from Arizona. The list goes on of his own party that was saying that he should step down. So there was no way that they were going to be able to vote to keep him as chairman. And so I think it was just a matter of time before the dominoes started falling. So it was, I think, probably the only thing he could do.
And does this mean anything substantial in terms of the Ways and Means Committee? I mean, clearly it will be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Congressman, but it will be the role of Nancy Pelosi to put someone in his place?
That will be the case. And generally speaking, Washington runs on a seniority system, which the more senior members or the next senior member would be in line. I'm not sure that'll be the case. I know that I think that, and I'm just recalling this from from my memory, but I believe that Pete Stark from California, and of which has sort of been a controversial figure as well, and sort of out of step with most Americans as well. So I don't know what they're going to do. The Speaker will, of course, make a recommendation to their steering committee, and pretty much I think whatever she wants, she'll get. But at the same time, they're going to have to put someone in there who has an impeccable background and make sure that they know what they're doing. And so, especially since this is a tax writing committee, so it'll be interesting to see how they, when he does step down, how quickly they will put somebody in his place, and will they be someone that will be for the long term, or whether they're just going to be a placeholder for the short time.
Congressman, forgive my lack of knowledge on this subject, but I wanted to bring it up. We had Tim James on the program earlier this morning, and I recall earlier in the week reading something, maybe a press release or some sort of communique that had the gubernatorial candidate's name on it and your name on it as well. Am I correct?
That's correct. Tim and I have got to know each other over the last year or so. Of course, I've known who Tim was for quite some time, but over the last year or so, Tim came to Washington. We sit down together. He told me his plan for Alabama, his plan for the campaign. I was very impressed with it, and I decided to join his team. There's a lot of great candidates that are run as Republicans, and so that's certainly not to say that the other candidates in these races are bad people. As you know, there's a lot of good people, and as a Republican, I'm not ever going to speak poorly of my fellow Republicans, but I do think that Tim is a good candidate. I think he has the values and the principles that I think most Alabamians believe in, and I think he would be a good choice.
Congressman, dominating the state conversation, the legislature is in session, and at the State House, it does not seem that we can talk about anything regarding economics or any other subject matter without talking about gambling first. It has dominated the conversation, and I know you're not down there at the State House and privy to some of the conversations that are going on there, but I'm sure you're paying attention to it, and I'm just curious your thoughts on the issue, and I'll start the conversation by asking, while, I disagree with a lot of my Republican friends on the overall issue of gambling and the government's role in it, but I think we would agree that anyone that suggests that bringing gambling to Alabama will solve all of our economic and monetary woes, they're just fooling themselves.
Yeah, everybody agrees on that, Matt. And, of course, I'm one of those who believe that, really it's not good for the government to be in the gambling business. And so, and, of course, as far as trying to not only be in the gambling business, but also try to depend on revenue from gambling, as you say, to solve the problems. So, certainly I'm not in the legislature. I don't have a vote, so my opinion is just that. It's just an opinion. But I think it would be a mistake for us to try to proceed with this. The gambling issue has been one of those things. I have never served in the legislature. I ran back about, I guess it's 20 years ago now, for the state legislature and was defeated. So I've never served in the legislature, but it's been amazing how the gambling issue has always dominated the legislature in so many ways. There's, we've heard discussions about Milton McGregor and Green Track and all the other aspects of the ending gambling for years. And I know my father-in-law served in the state legislature. He was served in the 70s and early 80s. He was in the state Senate from the Huntsville area. And I remember my wife telling me stories about some of the gambling interests, some of the things that they did when he was in the state Senate that were, quite amazing to try to get their point across. So I am of the opinion that the gambling would not be a good route for Alabama to go. But, of course, I know there's a lot of people who disagree with that, but that's been my position from the very beginning.
You talk about the state legislature. One of your congressional colleagues, Mike Rogers, has served in both houses. And one day we had Mike on the show, and I know you know Mike, and you guys are, I'm certain, friends. And I asked him, I said, given the choice between the State House and Capitol Hill, which is more snaky? And he said, Matt, hard as it is to believe, I would take Capitol Hill in terms of cleanliness any day. It's much more snaky in the State House in Montgomery. So
yeah, I think that's the conventional wisdom of most people who know Montgomery. I worked in Montgomery for a short period when I served as assistant legal advisor back in the mid-'90s, so I'm a little familiar with the way Montgomery works. But I think all in all, certainly I think it's more, as to use your term, snakier down there as it is in Washington as well.
Final question, Congressman. Are you headed over to the White House Monday, or are you going to let the Crimson Tide have their moment with the president without your appearance?
Well, I'm not yet. I've got some scheduling conflicts right now, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to end up doing. But certainly, I do congratulate Alabama, and it's a great thing for our state. It's amazing. I'll be in the Capitol, and somebody will introduce me as being from Alabama, and their first words is congratulations. And so
I thought you were going to say Roll Tide.
Well, they will say Roll Tide, but then it's usually followed by congratulations or one or the other. So it's the team has made our state very proud, and we're very proud of them. So regardless whether I'm there or not, we're very excited to have the national champions here in Alabama.
Congressman, thanks for your time. Take care, and we'll talk very soon.
Thanks, man. It's good to be with you. Look forward to being with you in the future.
4th Congressional District Congressman Robert Aderholt on the program with us.